morning, everyone. We have a very, very full and exciting schedule today. So first, we're going to start with a zoomed out overview of just what is AI, and then we'll start zooming it in a bit more. So we'll zoom into Microsoft's investment with AI. So with your existing M365 technology, Copilot, and then of course Teams Premium. And then we'll zoom in a bit more specifically with AI innovation in Teams Phone. We'll go into a demo and then we'll leave it open for Q&A. So with that, the new era of AI. So AI is here and employees are ready to embrace it. So a recent Work Trend Index report showed that 64% of employees don't have enough time or energy to do their job. And employees lacking time and energy to do their job are 3.5 times more likely to struggle with innovation and strategic thinking, which makes sense. That takes time to think through strategic, initiatives and whatnot. And when you already have a jam-packed schedule, I mean, that's tough. And then employees are starting to embrace too the idea of using AI to support their work. So we found that 70% of employees are open to delegate some of their work to AI to lessen their workloads. And then this last stat I found most interesting, especially because I think it's 49% or so of people are worried that AI will result in people losing their jobs. So I thought this data was very interesting, that actually the data showing that managers are looking to leverage AI to empower people and not replace them. So 2.5 times more likely to say that AI would be most valuable for boosting productivity than cutting headcount. So I thought that was pretty cool. What every employee wants from AI. So finding answers, planning their day, admin tasks. So all of these things really just to save time and increase efficiency. I know that I spend a lot of my day with some admin tasks, and now that I've been using Copilot and some of our AI functionality, it saved me tons and tons of time. So this brings us now to Microsoft's investment in AI. So specifically around Copilot. So as a company, we've been investing a ton to be a leader in integrating AI into our Microsoft solutions in order to help you all work more efficiently. What is Copilot? So we get this question all the time, and our definition is a Copilot is an AI-driven partner that is guided by an individual or an organization to help amplify creativity and accelerate results. And we'll go into some demos here throughout the presentation. So I'm going to play a quick video.
Microsoft 365 Copilot is powered by what we call the Copilot system, a sophisticated processing and orchestration engine. It harnesses the power of three foundational technologies: the Microsoft 365 apps, that's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, and more. The Microsoft Graph, that's all your content and context, your emails, files, meetings, chats, and calendar. And a large language model, or LLM, a creative engine capable of parsing and producing human-readable text, all accessible through natural language. It starts with a prompt from you in an app. Copilot pre-processes the prompt through an approach called grounding. Put simply, grounding improves the quality of the prompt, so you get answers that are relevant and actionable. One of the most important parts of grounding is making a call to the Microsoft Graph to retrieve your business content and context. Copilot combines this user data from the graph with other inputs to improve the prompt. It then sends that modified prompt to the LLM. You may be familiar with what an LLM can do based on your experience with ChatGPT or Bing Chat. Copilot takes the response from the LLM and post-processes it. This post-processing includes additional grounding calls to the graph, responsible AI checks, security, compliance and privacy reviews, and command generation. Finally, Copilot sends a response to the user and commands back to the apps. Copilot iteratively processes and orchestrates these sophisticated services to produce a result that feels like magic.
All righty. everyone able to do this slide? Actually, I might need to go back and populate. All right, so to clarify, one thing that I just want to clear up, so I've been hearing a lot from customers. They've been wondering, well, do I need to get Copilot for Teams? Do I need to get a Copilot license for Outlook and for Office? And so I did just want to set the stage and let you know that M365 Copilot means that it's part of all of your M365 applications. So it's not a separate license or something that you need, but it goes across that suite of tools. So it allows you to be more creative with Word by having Copilot rewrite passages and paragraphs. You can be more analytical in Excel. It's in PowerPoint. It's in Outlook, so it can help you to write emails. And then, of course, which we'll get into more, it's in Teams. So it can help you generate meeting notes and create action items from meetings that maybe you've missed.
Hey, Lisa, guys, do you want to maybe restart the PowerPoint? Or I can try to do that and we can take control, because we do have a bunch of people who said they are seeing white screens as well. So
okay, yeah.
Once you start or stop sharing, and let's just redo that
Don,
again.
I think we're yeah, why don't we do that?
Just in case.
Yep. Okay. The gremlins are at us again.
I will stop sharing and then re-share again here.
Our technology is just waking up, apparently.
That's right. That's right. I guess the PowerPoint deck needed its cup of coffee.
Exactly.
All right. So before we get back started again, just can people just confirm with a thumbs up that you can see the deck?
Mm.
Okay, we're getting thumbs
up. There we go.
All right.
Great. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty in terms of what makes Copilot special, how it does its thing. So at a fundamental level, there's a few core components. So everyone on the call, I'm sure, is very familiar with ChatGPT. You've used it to write silly songs and poems, and maybe even to help you solve some problems. The core of the Copilot system uses these large language models, but then it couples that with your data. And your data in the Microsoft world is accessible via the Microsoft Graph. That's your emails, your documents, all the stuff, all the content that you use during the workday. We pair that up with the power of the large language models. Then in terms of interacting with Copilot, that's done via natural language. And that's really, in my opinion, what is so special is that you can just interact with Copilot like you would interact with a coworker or an assistant. So it's all about prompting to the Copilot engine. Here. Is the slide advancing? Are we seeing?
It is for me.
Oh, good. Perfect.
Yes, we're good.
Thumbs up.
So ironically, I'm seeing a white screen, but it doesn't matter what I see. So for Copilot, Copilot for Microsoft 365 is going to change. It's going to evolve over time with new capabilities. But the core principles of Copilot remain unchanged, and that is the things that are most important in a work environment and for a work system like Copilot are that it's built on a foundation of security, privacy, and enabling compliance. And so you can rest assured that Copilot is designed for that from the outset. So it looks like people are having challenges.
Yeah, let's go to not using PowerPoint live, and let's just share the app and make sure you share the sound.
Yeah, we'll do. So apologies for the technical difficulties here.
All right.
Okay. Now
Is that better, everybody?
Cool. So if we do
I think
this,
we're
my
good.
speaker notes are gone, so I'm going to ad
I
lib
know.
this. So please forgive me if I'm not quite as smooth on the notes. So again, the core of Copilot here is that it's built on Microsoft's comprehensive approach to security, compliance, data privacy, and also responsible AI. Let me give a quick practical example of that. All of the capabilities in Copilot and what Copilot can see and what it can access, we adhere to all the permissions on your content that exists in your Microsoft 365 tenant. There's actually even a new capability that we just released, or we just announced, around restricting access for what Copilot can see. So for example, in a SharePoint environment, you can restrict to a subset of your SharePoint sites in terms of what content Copilot will discover. So just a simple example there. So again, the core and the key piece, if you take anything away of the mechanics of the Copilot system, I want you to take away this concept of grounding. And that leverages a technique called a retrieval augmented generation, by which we're coupling a large language model like GPT with the Microsoft Graph. And what we do is, you've probably heard of things like in the early days of ChatGPT, it got a lot of flack in the press for making things up, making facts up and confidently telling you things that you know are not true. The point of grounding the Copilot system is to minimize or eliminate the possibility for hallucination. So what we do is we pre-process queries that get sent to the large language model, and we use that technique of retrieval augmented generation, or a RAG pattern, to ground the query in things that we know via the Microsoft Graph. So it's Graph plus the large language model that makes Copilot. That's what makes it unique. And then it's presented all throughout the Microsoft 365 apps. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about Copilot and Teams Premium. And the reason we want to spend a little bit of time here is we've gotten a lot of just comments from customers that it's sometimes confusing understanding from a licensing perspective what makes sense and what capabilities are available in the different licenses. So we'll do our best to kind of do some myth busting here. So first, Teams Premium. Teams Premium is a set of capabilities which we'll go into in depth that are there for explicitly within Teams. There is an intersection that we'll look into with Copilot, but Copilot is a broader solution that is knit across the Microsoft 365 apps, so including Teams, but it also, as Lisa was mentioning, is there in Outlook to summarize emails. It's there in Word to generate content. It's there in PowerPoint to help you be more creative and more quickly create presentation content. Now, I like this slide because it shows where the two overlap. And there is a very common scenario, which is in this post-pandemic world that we're all living in, there's lots and lots and lots of online meetings and a lot of conflicting online meetings. So you'll find yourself double booked or even triple booked. The idea with the key scenario that I want to double down on is there is a capability that is both there in Copilot and also there in Teams Premium that addresses this scenario. Separately, for Copilot, Copilot is a great fit for users who are very active users across the 365 app ecosystem with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. Users who create and view content very frequently, folks who are doing data analysis and creation. Separately, Teams Premium is a fit for scenarios where you're connecting with clients, external facing or business to business scenarios where you have high sensitive, very sensitive meetings. And so we have the ability to control meeting content. And also for very large meetings like webinars. And finally, scenarios where it's like a business to consumer scenario where you might need to facilitate virtual visits or virtual appointments. So I want to zoom in on one particular capability. We're not going to do this for all the capabilities in Teams Premium, but I want to just go a little bit deeper on one particular capability. And this is to address the scenario that I mentioned where you've got lots of online meetings and you're trying to get the most value from those online meetings. With Teams Premium and with Copilot, there is a feature called Intelligent Meeting Recap. We get a lot of positive feedback on this capability, and I'm a big fan of it. I use this every day. Really what it allows you to do is it recaps meetings that are recorded and transcribed. And there's two ways that you can leverage this feature, and it's a good I think it's a good example of the difference in interacting with generative AI in Teams Premium versus the way that you might interact with it in Copilot. So first, with Intelligent Meeting Recap, as included with Teams Premium, it provides all the content for you. So you record and transcribe a meeting. At the end of the meeting, you dig in. You can double click on the details of a meeting in your calendar, and you'll see the this recap pane. And the recap pane will show you a standardized look that provides a meeting timeline, provides some speaker notes. It provides speaker markers that show where in the timeline of the meeting different people participated or spoke. And it's available after the meeting. By contrast, Copilot is available during the meeting. You need to prompt it. So whereas the Intelligent Meeting Recap is a completely passive activity, you navigate to the recap pane after the meeting, and you see all the detail. You see the AI generated notes, you see the meeting timeline. With Copilot, it's just like interacting with an assistant. So it's a more active activity. We have the notion of suggested prompts, but you can prompt Copilot in whatever way that you would like. So you can do that during the meeting, and then it's also available after the meeting as well. So it's a conversational way to interact with essentially the meeting recording and the meeting transcript. So this next slide is really like a deep dive into, and I don't want to spend a lot of time here, but it helps articulate the fact that there's different capabilities in Teams Premium. Again, Teams Premium provides meeting protection for very sensitive meetings. It provides some amount of organizational branding controls. So for example, the ability to roll out standardized virtual backgrounds. So certain things that enterprises require around branding are there within Teams Premium. Real-time translation of meeting captions and transcripts. And then the place where it intersects or overlaps with Copilot is in Intelligent Meeting Recap, that capability that we just discussed. And then on the Copilot side, you have all the stuff that we discussed a few minutes ago, the AI-powered web grounding, the grounding in the Microsoft Graph, and then the integration more broadly across all the Microsoft 365 apps. This is one more eye chart that I wanted to show you. Again, just the point of this slide is that that AI capabilities are being knit into everything that we do these days. So that includes Copilot, but that's not limited just to Copilot. So within the standard Teams subscription or license, we have things like the AI-based noise suppression. We have AI-based video optimization, live meeting, captions and transcripts. And then we have the Cameo video overlay on screen share and also in PowerPoint Live. And then when we get into the Teams Premium and the Copilot for Microsoft 365 licenses, we have additional sets of capabilities that are tailored to those particular subscription licenses. So one question I get asked a lot is what is the right way to get started with AI in my collaboration stack? And the truth is that there's not one right way or wrong way to do it. I like this slide, this choose your own adventure kind of journey map slide, because it shows two, I think, very logical paths to proceed with. So first is, if your organization is looking to reap the benefits of AI and specifically generative AI technologies, where should you go? So the first is making the choice as to whether your organization is ready for Copilot. If the answer is yes, then you can choose Copilot and then piggyback on top of that the ability to get broad AI adoption with Teams Premium. And where I usually see organizations making a choice here is Teams Premium can more easily span very broadly across the organization. And many organizations, because of the different price points of the two, are more targeted in the initial users that they want to target with Copilot. So I hope that my point in these slides was to paint a picture where the two can coexist. And again, the most common path I see is taking targeted use cases and targeted personas for Copilot, and then looking more broadly at Teams Premium, because Teams, for a lot of customers that we work with, is used very broadly across the organization.
Awesome.
Okay. Let me just do this, Lisa. I'm gonna let me give control to you here, and there we go.
I know it's a lot of information, everyone. Like we said in the beginning, though, we wanted to just do a zoomed out look again. What is AI? And then zoom into how is Microsoft investing in AI with our existing license that you have with Teams, with M365, but then specifically to what is the difference with Copilot and Teams Premium, and what's already included with the license you own, because I think there's a lot of confusion there. So hopefully those visuals that Matt just walked through will be helpful. And of course, like Don and Jonathan said, we'll be sharing this content out with you afterwards. It will be on our YouTube channel. But we are going to dive in now specifically to AI innovation in Teams Phone. Let's see. I can advance the slide.
Here, let me, there we go.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right, so Teams Phone, it's the smart way to bring calling into the flow of work. So you're already using Teams for meetings, collaboration, automating workflows, and chat. And now with Teams Phone, you can include calling and a telephony solution right in Teams. So this is meeting users where they're at with the tools that they're already using and enabling them for flex work, which is huge. But on top of that, AI is a huge component of Teams Phone. So it allows you to stay focused in your calls and have meaningful engagement. So with Copilot, doing some of the work for you with the note taking and follow-up tasks and so on, it helps you to be more engaged. We'll go to our next slide. Thanks, Matt.
No problem.
All right, so yeah, so Teams Phone, especially with the new AI capabilities, brings so much value to your organization and users. So these 3 buckets here, flexible and easy to use. So again, your users are already using Teams, and now adding calling into the mix, it just enables your users to work from anywhere. So they're not tied to a desk phone or a desk. If they need to work from home, they can work from home. If they are working in a coffee shop, they can work. If they're traveling for work, they can work anywhere and bring that phone with them. And again, easy to use. They're already using it for chat, for meetings, and so on. It's intelligent and connected. So again, with the new AI features, it's saving them tons of time too. And then of course, it's secure, reliable, and simple to manage with that built-in M365 security. If we can go then to the next slide. Appreciate it. I do want to pause for a second before I hop into the next 3 slides. So we're going to be going through 3 scenarios of AI in Teams with your existing license, what that looks like, Copilot and Teams calling, and then the 3rd scenario is Copilot and Teams Premium together and what that looks like specifically in Teams calling. For the sake of time, we're not going through every single feature that you saw on that list that Matt had of what's already built into Teams with your existing license, what's Teams Premium and Copilot. So, but I did want to point and walk through at least 3 different scenarios to give you a visual of how this would work in your day-to-day. Thank you. All right, so first one is going to be Teams built-in AI. So again, this is with your existing Microsoft Teams license. You can access this now. So this is voice isolation, which is a new audio experience that suppresses background noise. So it's a setting in Teams where you can train Teams to know your voice, which is super cool, especially if you are in a Teams room or a coffee shop that's super noisy, or an office space that maybe there's a lot of noise in the background. So it can suppress that, but it knows your voice too. So again, you can train it to know when you're speaking. I will say there is also another feature too. So this is the one that you can train it to know your voice. I'm sure maybe you guys have seen directly in the team meeting. There's also a setting for noise suppression. It's more generic. So it's not something that you've trained, but it's more, so it can still cancel background noise for you. But this one's cool. So if you're in a Teams room and you're talking, it actually knows my voice versus Matt's voice if we're both talking together, which is cool too, a transcription. And then we'll go to the next slide here. So Copilot in Teams. So an example of this. So Copilot with Teams calling, it works with your PSTN call. So I just want to be clear with that. So one-to-one calls that you're having, or of course, if you're in meetings, it's working with that. And a good example of this is, let's say you, I don't know if you guys are like me, but you're in your calls and instead of taking notes yourself and then having to consolidate your notes and send out those action items, I would do that at the end of my day. So I frequently have a ton of back-to-back calls. So I'm jotting down my notes. And then at the end of the day, I'd probably take 1, maybe 2 hours to consolidate those notes and send out my follow-ups. Now, simply by just turning on Copilot in my calls, it's doing those notes for me. It's putting together those action items for me. So I can go and send it out either immediately after my call. It takes 30 seconds, or the users already have access to it. But it's saving me, again, 1-2 hours every evening to do other things and to focus on other work that I have. So going back to the very beginning where we talked through some of those stats of users don't have a lot of time to do work. It's, they are in back-to-back meetings, so they don't have time for more creativity and innovation and different ways and things that they can do. This is giving them back some time so they can actually focus on some of that innovation or focus on other areas of their work. And again, I use this every day, almost every single meeting that I'm doing. So Matt, to the next one here. So Teams Premium and Copilot. So again, these can work together, which is really cool. It's a great way to keep users engaged in the meeting, but also helps with inclusivity by breaking down the language barriers. So maybe you have an international team with offices around the globe. With Teams Premium, you have AI-powered live translation. So meaning I could be speaking English, and maybe Matt is Spanish speaking. He could have that live translation, and we could be having a conversation back and forth. Or if it's an all hands meeting, it's nice for that inclusivity. So in real time, they're able to see what that translation looks like. But then also with Copilot, attendees can query in their native language as well to gain insights and summaries and recommendations from the call. So they very much can work hand in hand to help your users.
Great. Thanks so much, Lisa. So the next thing we want to talk through here is a benefit that's not really seen. It's kind of something that's where AI is powering the reliability of our Teams phone service. So it's not something like an end user feature that you would see in the Teams app, but we're building in enhanced reliability with things like proactive network monitoring and automated system optimization using AI. So we're doing AI optimized monitoring and the rerouting of traffic. We're analyzing and dynamically distributing user requests. We're detecting issues and trying to do predictive monitoring so that we can, again, we can prevent issues before users can experience them. And then finally, we are leveraging automated routing and resolution of customer tickets using LLMs as well. So we commissioned a research paper around the reliability of our service against some of the competing UCaaS solutions. And as you can see here, all three vendors did well. We did very well, particularly well in that research study. So finally here, what we'd like to do is just take a few minutes. We talked a lot about the Copilot system. We talked about the fact that in the workplace, we're hearing a lot about AI. Organizations are seeking to reap the benefits of AI. And then we talked about Teams Premium as well. We'd like to show this in action a bit and just talk through specifically how Teams Phone how Copilot for Microsoft 365 works in Teams Phone. So Copilot in Teams Phone is really about two primary things. It's about the real-time summarization and gaining call insights during calls. And that's specific, as Lisa highlighted, that is the case in Teams meetings. But as it relates to Teams Phone, it extends to voice over IP calls or Teams calls, and then also to calls with PSTN participants. So what you'll see in the demo and what I want you to take note of is like the real benefit of using Copilot in Teams Phone on your calls. It frees you up to focus on the discussion itself. And Copilot, for lack of a better term, acts as an automated scribe or assistant, which allows you can query Copilot during your phone call. But one of the things that I'll show you is the post-call summary. And so that allows you on your timeline to go back and ask Copilot to summarize the call or to pull out the important topics so that you can harvest that information when it makes sense for you and when it's convenient for you. Cool. So here's just a little demo video, and I'll kind of just talk through what's happening here. So we've got we have a conversation with a marketer here, and just pardon me here while I grab my notes. So we've got imagine you're a marketer who needs to explain a new product to a potential customer. You can use Teams phone to call the customer and start a conversation. As the customer talks, Copilot's going to do some summarization for you, and it will capture all the relevant questions about the product features, benefits, pricing, etc. This allows you to stay focused on the conversation at hand and not be distracted by trying to do the research or make sure you're capturing all the customer's questions. So again, one thing I want to highlight as well is Copilot, like interacting with Copilot, and this goes for Copilot in Teams phone, but it also goes for Copilot more broadly. It's really like building a new muscle. The muscle that you need to build is learning how to prompt, and that's something that, at least in my experience, takes some time. And so in order to help with that, we have these suggested prompts. So in the lower right-hand corner of the running video, you see that there's a More Prompts button. That helps you get started. You can prompt Copilot in any way you see fit, and your prompting skills will improve over time. But to get you started, that More Prompts or the suggested prompts helps get you going. Cool. So as I mentioned, a lot of the benefit of Copilot, you can use Copilot during the call itself, but a lot of the benefit and a lot of the use cases that I think about with Copilot are most relevant in a post-call scenario. So one very common scenario that we see is, in this new era of flexible work, you might take a call from your car while you're going to pick up your kids from school, right? If you're recording the call, and this goes for calls and meetings, by the way, but if you record and try and transcribe the call, it frees you up to focus on the conversation. And then when you get back to your desk, you can then query Copilot or ask Copilot to summarize the call. So we see here in the Calls app within Teams, you see the Copilot button and then a recording icon as well. That just shows you that you have the ability to then query Copilot. And again, we'll give you suggested prompts. You can ask about the call. You can ask for it to summarize the call. You can ask for it to pull out the key action items or next steps. But again, that information is there for you to harvest on your timeline. So it enables you to be flexible and take your calls from wherever you happen to be. And then you can leverage the power of Copilot on your timeline. Okay, and that brings us to the end of our prepared content. Thank you so much for spending time with Lisa and myself. I think we probably do have at least 5 minutes or maybe 10 minutes for some questions. So let me stop sharing my screen and we can go to the Q&A.
All right. So there are a few questions in there, and I'm going to actually have some of our moderators also help me curate a couple of these. But I know there was a lot of questions wrapped around needing transcript and needing recordings, and how does this whole recording, the fact is that somebody else on the other end of this conversation, do they know you're using Copilot? Do they not know those types of things from the end user side of things. There's a lot of questions wrapped around that. And I don't know if you guys can give a little bit of insight as far as what's going on there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lisa, do you want to take this or do you want me to take it?
We both can, but yeah, absolutely. It's not a secret or something hidden. It would be, there's a notification that pops up, and it doesn't matter when you join the meeting. It'll let you know that it's being recorded, transcribed, or Copilot's on. So absolutely, those will pop up and they will know it. And you have to, it's kind of, if anything, a little annoying sometimes. You have to exit out of it. I am at least. So it will be right there, so everyone's aware. They're not going to be like secretly recorded or something.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, thanks for that, Lisa. The other thing too is if it's a PSTN participant, they'll there's an audio message that gets played to all the participants in the call. So again, it's very clear that Copilot is being used and the call is being recorded. So as Lisa mentioned, nothing sneaky going on.
Yeah. And we usually, just as like etiquette too, usually when we're on calls with each other, like even Matt and I, when we're planning this presentation, hey, is it okay if I turn on Copilot? Sure, absolutely. And then we go ahead and turn it on, and still they'll see those different, notifications that it is on. But usually it's an agreement of, hey, I'm going to turn this on because we have a lot of action items that we're going through, or we have a lot of information we're going through. So let's have Copilot do some of that work for us.
Yeah, that's a great point. Then it's not a surprise to anyone, and it doesn't catch anyone off guard. It, like you said, it's more of an etiquette thing.
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, there's a lot of questions flying around here. I know there was a couple people were asking about auto recording Teams phone calls. No, there is not a capability with that. That's more of a compliance application that's going to be doing something like that would apply to this. Martin was asking about, do we have it, or do we know if we're going to be having this where we have a user consent for, how we do that for recordings? The user has to consent about the recording. Do we know if that's on the roadmap or heard about that for Copilot?
Well, that's a good question. Let's take that one for follow-up. It's a great question. I don't know of anything that of something specific for Copilot that will require like explicit consent.
Yep.
We can take that.
I think something like that, Martin, why don't you take that to your account team and have them do a feature request for that, and anybody else on here that likes that, do the same thing. Because anytime that we Microsoft, but our product group, they look at new features, they will see, hey, if there's a bunch of these sitting there that are, make sense and they have a lot of backing on it, then they typically add it into the product roadmap. So keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
Danielle just said something. If there is a thought to have Copilot available after the call without transcription, there are some legal concerns for transcription that available, but AI is being asked for. Whew,
without transcription. So one thing to be clear about is that for Teams meetings, there is an option where you can basically have Copilot available during a Teams meeting, and then it's not available afterwards. Right. If the question is whether that same capability is planned for one-to-one calls using Copilot, we can take a follow-up on that. I'm not aware of that being on the roadmap. Again, the concern I would have with something like that in a one-to-one scenario is you would arguably be pretty distracted from the call if you're trying to query your assistant at the same time that you're talking one-on-one with someone.
Yep. But I think the big thing would be is if you can do that afterwards, obviously that's going to be a much better solution. That follow-up, if you're in the car and you want that Copilot to help you out after the fact, right? What were the points of that conversation? What do I need to follow up with Bob on? Those types of things makes it a little bit better experience, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, that's I think where the lion's share of the benefit is like it acts as your scribe, your AI scribe, and you can on your own timeline, you can go back to that. And in my experience, it has a much better memory than I do about what was important in the call and what the next steps are.
Yeah. And along that line, somebody was asking about I'm not sure if you guys know do you know where that transcript is stored for those ad hoc calls?
Not off the top of my head. I think I want to say that it's stored in the Office 365 substrate.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
100% certain.
Yeah, we'll get back and put that in the FAQ as well. And Greg is thinking he thinks it's a OneDrive, but maybe it is a substrate too. especially for those ad hocs. But we will put that in the follow-up FAQ as well.
Yeah, great question. Great question.
Very cool. All right. Well, I know there's a few other ones I don't think we're going to get to, but I think this was really good, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. Even though you didn't even have your speaker notes, I think you did a great job.
Yeah, I hope it was helpful. Again, I know there's a lot of AI features and it falls under different buckets. So I hope we are able to make that clear for everyone of what's already built into what you have, what's premium, what's Copilot.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Perfect. Well, thank you guys. I will take you off and I will continue on the presentation.